and welcome to Journey in Boots from Trauma to Triumph. I'm Dr. Royster, and this is Dorothy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Our special guest today is Sabrina Johnson, and she is in-house.
Hello.
On location. I love this. And on location. Sabrina, it is so nice to meet you.
Yes, happy to be here.
Woo! So Sabrina and I have been super friends for 8, 10 years, something like that.
11 years.
11, yes. So she is also a mental health counselor. And I met her when she was fresh out of her master's program. And she does a lot of work in the community. But what we want to talk about today is her time in service. So tell us a little bit about the Navy.
Which part of the Navy?
What made you go in? I mean, you have a huge family, so talk about that.
Well, I wanted to do something different, so I decided to, I was working as a assistant manager at Arby's, and one of the recruiters from the training center had came in to the drive-through and was, trying to recruit people. And she was like, well, he was like, well, you can be X, Y, and Z or whatever. Because I was going to go into the Army at first. But then I switched over to Navy. So the Navy recruiter came through, and that's the one I picked. But I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted money for college. So I really didn't necessarily have anything in mind when I went into the Navy. I didn't know. So
when you took your ASVAB, which is an assessment test to determine where you would be placed, what did it come up with?
So they said that I scored very high, in a higher percentile. And so I was like, ooh, so what did that mean? And so at MEPS, they was like, well, you qualify for, I guess, these 4 different ratings. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, they was like, well, did you take algebra and geometry? And I said, yeah. And I said, well, which one of these do I not have to go on a ship? And it was like CV. I was like, okay, so what CV? And it was like engineering aid. So that's what I picked, was to go in as an engineering aid for the CVs.
What's an engineering aid?
So an engineering aid is a individual that works for the civil engineer. So what it is that the civil engineer, they work out at the operations department. And then what they do is they task us with different things that we're supposed to do, which means that if we had to do like manual computations for earthwork or for starting a building from the ground up. So they would give us the specs, and then we would go through and draw it from scratch. We had to go to school to learn how to draft by hand using the tools and the metric system. And then we would do AutoCAD, where we would do computations on a program. And then we will just work for different departments. So wherever they needed us at, that's where they put us at.
Well, you deployed a lot because you were the person that put the buildings up so people had a place to go when they arrived, correct?
Yes. So, so what it was is that we deployed every 6 months when I went into the Navy. Very beginning. When I straight got out of A school, I was deployed 2 weeks later. So that was my very first deployment and it's like boots to ground, I'm out. Oh, okay. So I just told my mama, hey mom, I'm going to Spain. I see you in 6 months or so. So she was like, okay, be safe. But so what it is that we were assigned different places. So it's like we would usually go in and we would be like the first ones to go into to figure out based on how much space that they had where we can put the compound at, the buildings and all that stuff like that. So we also did surveying. So surveying is like what they did too, with architecture. So any type of road work or constructing the buildings, we had to lay out the building foundations, like the corners, the edges, where the elevation of the ground is. So we had to put all of this stuff in small spaces, confined spaces.
Well,
so
the last thing you want is, Tampa is like a couple inches above sea level. So building a building in that area, they had to make sure that it wasn't going to like fall away with high tide.
Yeah.
You know, but you served for how many years?
Almost 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
How many deployments?
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And what number are you in your line of siblings?
I'm number 4 of 10. Yeah.
Say that again.
Number 4 of 10.
Oh, 4 of 10. I thought you said 14. I was just
No,
saying,
4.
what?
Yeah, 4.
4 of 10. Oh my gosh.
So I have 2 older sisters, an older brother, and then everybody else underneath me.
Right.
How many nieces and nephews?
Over 28, I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Christmas just must be like amazing at your
They
house.
have to rent a hall.
Mm-hmm. Every year.
Yeah, they have epic barbecues. I will say that.
Yes, I love barbecue.
There is nothing like a barbecue, let me tell you. I love it.
I mean, that's like a stadium. Like their family.
I just had to ask, what did your parents do for work?
So my dad had 3 jobs. My mom was a bus driver, and she assisted with janitorial work. So that was her side hustle. My dad worked for the shipyard, and then he did security at the airport, and then he worked a side hustle too. I can't remember what it was right now.
It's all in Virginia. So
Yeah.
she's talking about the Norfolk shipyard,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
where the Norfolk naval base is.
Mhm.
So how convenient, right?
Exactly. Wow. I was just curious. I'm like, how does one afford 10 children? But you do it, like, right? And so I was just
Figure it
like,
out.
You figure it out as you go. That is amazing.
Yeah, it was good. It was very interesting. I could tell you that. Mm-hmm. We only had 1 bathroom.
No way.
Yeah, until I was 21. So, yeah, it was
Well, it's a
very.
good thing you were on so many deployments.
Well, we didn't get the second bathroom until I went to boot camp. Yes. So. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! I love that you said that you basically went into the Navy to get your education and travel. You know, it's funny. Since I've been working with veterans, a lot of it's come to the forefront. Oh yeah, I'm just going to join the Army or the Navy or military for an education. Well, why not? You know, Uncle Sam can pay for the education, and then they come back and they're like, okay, so how was the free education? And,
Yeah.
And
not free.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're giving up your freedoms for the free education.
Right.
And not to mention that most people come back a completely different person.
Right.
So, wow. Yeah. I wonder, how do you think that now? Like now that you've had the 14 years of service, how did that work out? Like with the travel and the free education, what would you say now to somebody who wanted to join?
I would say, if I had it to do it again, I still would go in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Nothing can take the place of the experiences that I got from knowing different people and being in different locations. I would say that it made me more of a well-rounded person because I still have friends that I keep in contact with, even though I'm out of service. So we still keep in contact through social media and stuff like that. I just would tell them that if they want to, they have to learn that they have to be flexible and that this is part of the process. All the heartache of being away from your family and just being uprooted so often. Because now they don't have to be uprooted as often. Because now you could be home ported for a year now versus just being home ported for 6 to 7 months. So yeah, but it was wonderful. I enjoyed it because I got most of my education from being in a service. So that was great. The benefits are a plus, but the headaches is that you have to deal with people who are not well suited for structure. So yeah, because there is, you have to like do a lot of internalizing with everything. especially with your external environment. So yeah, it was like a lot of mentoring to the younger troops. I could say that. Yeah, that was one of my duties.
So the show is called From Trauma to Triumph. So we were going to dive into this, but
no, we're not.
Luckily Sabrina is very well versed in mental health, and she's done a lot of work on her trauma. So tell us a little bit about Katrina. Not the person, the storm.
So let me see. So I got stationed back in Norfolk Naval Station. So I was at my detachment over there, and excuse me. Hold on, stop, hammer time.
See, that's the challenge when you serve 13 years and you deploy 7 times, is because you're like, I don't know. And we're going to learn this with Dr. Dutori too, because he served 28 years. And I've asked him, how many times did you deploy? He's like, no freaking idea. Because they just go.
Yeah, my bad. So in 2005, I was actually stationed at Joint Expeditionary Cornbread and Chicken, Little Creek Air Force Base in Virginia Beach. I still call it Little Creek. They added all that extra stuff, whatever.
Fort Bragg is still Fort Bragg, even though it's Fort Liberty. It makes
Fort
no sense.
Story.
Yes.
Whatever. I was stationed at CBMU 202, which is Construction Battalion Mobile Unit. So 202 is East Side and 303 is West Side. So when Hurricane Katrina happened, we got a standing order for the whole unit to deploy. I had just left Gulfport like 3 years earlier because I got stationed in Virginia in 2002, I think October. But so they was like, oh, we all got to go to help out with Hurricane Katrina. I was like, okay, heck yeah, I love Mississippi. That was where I did, most of the beginning of my career was in Gulfport, Biloxi.
Right, but you saw it before the storm.
Yes,
you saw it when everything was.
So
booming.
it was, everything was beautiful. It was wonderful. The beaches, just everything was just. It was like a normal, beach retreat. So everything was, above ground, flowing and moving like a normal city. Mm-hmm. And so when Hurricane Katrina hit, it was totally different. Because they forewarned us before we got there that there was going to be a lot of things going on. So when I saw the devastation, I was like, we were driving on the back of trucks. So everybody had their spots where they were going to be at. So we went on the base, Gulfport. So we were based out of the warehouses, and then they would detach us to different locations. So I was like, oh, wow, everything was wiped out. They had 18-wheelers in the water. They had motorcycles in the trees, clothing in the trees. There was houses that the roofs were blown off of. The casinos were displaced. Because they had a lot of casinos. The Hard Rock, there was maybe like 3 that was still standing, basically. But just seeing how everything went from being, perfectly normal buildings to being wiped out, it was very traumatic. So we had to go in and we had some of the guys assist with certain like body retrievals. So they assisted the Marines. So then we had people, because we were disaster recovery teams. So we had some where we had to do like natural clearance. So we would go through and help. We would help. We call it cut down trees and things like that, and they will mark the different houses if they had bodies or stuff in there. I didn't do that part. We went on the other side. So and then it was just a lot of stuff going on. So one of our taskings was to build a tent city. So we built a tent city down there in Pascagoula, which is basically like 15, 20 minutes away from Gulfport. And so we, we had like pallets and stuff laid out, and then we had to go in there and survey how much space, how many tents we can put together, because we needed to try to keep the families together that was displaced, especially if they didn't want to go to the Superdome in Louisiana. So it was, they had food trucks coming through and stuff like that. But it was weird to see how in our tactical vehicles, we actually had to go over and ride over all the debris without busting the tires. And so the individuals that were still there, they were very grateful that we were there to assist them. So, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of going on. It's like, it's just mind blowing.
I was gonna say, how did you process that? Especially like seeing what you've seen and then like trying to process that as well doing your job.
Well, we had to, what I did was I remembered the memories that I had before everything happened. So just remembering where everything used to be, and I could see the beauty of what it was before to this devastation that it was now. It was very surreal because we had to basically go through, and we had to do debriefings all the time, like every day, to make sure that everybody was good to go, especially if a lot of us had been stationed there before. So yeah, but we had a lot of debriefing, and it was like trying to just constantly wrap your head around it. It was because we were there for at least a month, I believe. So we were working with the other CBMU from Port Hueneme in California, and so because they were our West Coast counterparts. So it was very interesting to see how the laid back versus would get together, because it was two different personalities and two different basic structures that when we got together. But because I was like, I had to call some of my friends who were previously stationed there to let them know that I was there and that I was assisting. And it was like, well, is such and such still existing? And I was like, no, it's not. It's gone. Everything's wiped out.
Wow.
So because it's like a lot of the like the casinos were split in half. It was because it was different, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of moving pieces, but they're still recovering right now. So the first thing that they did when they actually did rebuild was a Waffle House back out on the beach. Yes, that was the hangout spot. So
was Aunt Jenny affected? There's a restaurant in Biloxi, Mississippi called Aunt Jenny. My parents went there for their 25th anniversary, and it's funny because my parents never went anywhere, but we're talking about Biloxi, Mississippi, and that's exactly where they went. So that would be interesting to find out if that restaurant's still there. They loved the restaurant.
Yeah, I'm a foodie, so that was one of the reasons why I loved being stationed down there. So it's the culture and just the Southern cuisine. But yeah, so it's, it was a lot of, we still had to take time to process once we left, because we still had to leave them, even though it was still devastation down there. Still people displaced. So, we would do like turnarounds, and where we would do turnovers, and so with other commands, so we can continue with the continuity of helping out the civilians and stuff when we're down there. So,
wow, I can't even imagine. Like just you describing it, like we see it on TV, right? Where I think, oh, we really feel bad for those people, but the way you're describing it now, it's just to actually be in the trenches there and experience all that and see the devastation and be part of the recovery. Wow, that just gives a whole new dynamic to that for sure.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So what made you decide to leave the Navy?
So I got tired of babysitting. And what I mean by that is that I was a squad leader. So I was a squad leader of 13 individuals.
She was pretty high up in the
So
ranks,
I
which,
left out as an E6.
which
So
comes with a lot of responsibility.
yes.
You know, anything over an E4, you are in charge of other people.
Mhm. So you know, we were doing like CDO, you know, where we would be in charge of the barracks and being in charge of you know, like restricted duty, where we would be in charge of making sure that they get to where they need to get to, and besides being on the duty details that they're supposed to be on for you know, task management. And so I just got tired of the push, the, you know, it's like the slinky effect of having to train these new age military women and men who were not really there for the you know, the truth, you know, like they thought that it was just going to be a cushy job. They didn't know that you had to have structure and that you had to listen to somebody else, you know, who's in charge of you regardless of sex, race, religion. So, and I was like, well, I'm done with this. So I was like, well, if I don't find a job in 6 months, I would go back in. So yeah.
I laughed when you said that. It's because, well, I'm a bookkeeper by day, and I'm really tired of the babysitting, and especially executives to get the information I need to do my job. And I'm just like, when you said that, that's why I laughed, because I'm like, girlfriend, I hear you. Like, seriously, I hear you. And yeah, like, well, and it's funny that you said that, because as somebody who's how I portray it is, if you join the military, of course you're going to have somebody to tell you what to do. And, you know, that's part of the military. It's structure. You got to do this, and you have a commanding officer that tells you what you have to do, and things like that. So it's ironic that in the civilian world and the military world, you still get those people that, you know, like, I don't have to do that. Well,
Yes.
that's part of what you have to. That's what you signed up for, right?
Yeah.
Being part of the military, you signed up for that.
Yeah. And then they were, you know, it was just a lot of pushback. So, but I was like, okay, well, if it's meant for me to come back in, I would go back in. And 6 months to the day that I had joined the military, the following year, 6 months basically after I got out, I ended up going to military contracting. And so I didn't go back in. So I think it was meant for me not to go back in. So,
Absolutely.
but it's okay.
So what made you decide to transition into being a therapist?
So I have always been a talker. And people have always come to me to just talk. Like I'm just sitting in the mall by myself, and somebody, random stranger, would come up to me and just start talking. And I said, you know what? I'm long-winded like my daddy. Maybe I should go in and I was going to be a psychiatrist. That was what I wanted to do. But that's a little bit different of a journey. So I'm finding another way around it. But yeah, so because I like to talk, I have the gift of gab. So yeah.
I love that. Love that. So what was, you say, some of the best moments that you've had in the Navy?
I would say when I actually went to Afghanistan.
That I've never heard before.
So I went to Afghanistan in 2004 as an individual augmentee. I had another guy from my unit go with me, but we were in separate locations. So we would meet up, you know, for meetings or whatever, just to do a debriefing. But so I went over there, and I was working as a duty detail for the military contractors. So we would go in and help the different orphanages and hand out food and supplies to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I love that. That's another sign that you don't hear too often. Sometimes you see that in movies, but you don't actually hear it from somebody when they come back. So,
Mhm.
I love that. So what motivates you to do what you do?
I think it's more so all about just seeing the glimmer of hope in the community that I deal with. So, because I deal with community mental health, and then I do intensive in-home with children, mental health skill building for adults, and I do crisis, and then I also do outpatient therapy. So,
With military dependents.
yes.
So she works with the kids. She works with the kids of the people that serve.
Mhm.
And she
Oh,
works with serious mental health, like addictions and individuals who are diagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, and major depressive disorder. The ones who like struggle to function on their own, those are the individuals that Sabrina works with.
I love that because I've never heard of that in everybody that I've interviewed prior before. And yes, those services are totally needed. Now, do you work with the spouses too, or just the children?
I just work with the children. Yeah.
Well, she'll expand once she
Yeah.
transitions. So she's working on the licensure application, which is extremely daunting. Like she's passed her test and she's working on independent licensure. Once she does that, then she will get a myriad of different clients. What happens is when you graduate from a master's in clinical mental health counseling, there's steps you have to take. So you don't get to go to do outpatient like day one, right? That's not the normal. So typically that you go through the stages. Like for me, I went to the acute care psychiatric ward, which is a psych ward. So if anybody in Florida is Baker acted, or anybody in Virginia is like ECO'd, or anybody is forced to go to inpatient for several days, that's what I did. And then, you do, I think the next step is residential, where the children are actually in a facility trying to correct their behavior. And it could be anywhere from, 2 months to a year and a half. And then the third tier is community mental health, which is what Sabrina does and what she's talking about. And then you have tier 4, which is outpatient. You see somebody once a week, you do check in. It's a little less invasive than some of the other mental health diagnoses that you see. I happen to be one of the very few people that go through all 4 tiers. Most people don't choose to do that, although I think they should. It gives you just a wealth of experience. And when you do get to outpatient therapy, you're like, oh, I'm on vacation.
It's a totally different beast.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, because it's like, those individuals who are actually an outpatient want to be there.
Yes.
Versus anybody that's in community mental health. A lot of them are allocated to go because of court orders or because of hospital crisis cases,
or to keep their home.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of them are, they're not willing to do it on their own. Sometimes they have to be forced, and then once they're forced, then they're able to choose whether or not they want to continue with the particular programs. So then the main one that we always try to get them to do is outpatient therapy, because they need to continue with assisting with their stabilizing their mental health. So
what helps them hold them accountable for using their coping skills? It ensures that they're maintaining what they say they're supposed to maintain for the court, for the hospital, for the family. A lot of those individuals have been, hospitalized in the acute care psychiatric facility, and they have to be what community mental health does is it stands in the gap to ensure that they don't go back. Now, in every state, this looks different. So the community mental health resources are a lot more present in Virginia. In North Carolina, they're still there, but not as present. And in Florida, they have everybody, they want to change the name to everything, but it still means the same kind of service. They call it mental health skill building in Virginia, and down here they call it assisted, adult living or something weird. I haven't done community mental health down in Florida because since I've been in Florida, I'm independently licensed. So it's not something I've looked into, but I was a supervisor and I'm intimately familiar with what she does.
Right. Oh, that just opens a whole other can of worms too. I mean, like seriously. Okay. And so is that part of like the VA hospital or is it just like a
No, so this is a Medicaid funded program. So they have 5 managed care organizations that you basically, what happens is someone is in distress. We get a call as a supervisor. I go out, do a comprehensive evaluation or assessment in the home, and then I determine the need for services based on their criteria. And the 3 criteria they have to meet is they have to have been hospitalized in an acute care psychiatric facility. They have to have a major serious mental health disorder. And the top 3 are bipolar, schizophrenia, or one of the associated, depending on what the DSM-5-TR says, and then major depressive disorder. And then they have to be on psychotropic medications within the past year. So if they meet all those criteria, then we apply. We do what's called a service request authorization. We submit it to their insurance, which is a type of Medicaid. So like I said, Medicaid has 5 managed care organizations that they, pay, right? So we fill out one of those. We get pre-approved for 90 days at a time. We use those units. So Sabrina's a supervisor too. So the people that work under her are bachelor level. And they're called qualified mental health professionals. And they go into the home and they take these adults to appointments. And what else do they do, Sabrina?
We take them to appointments. We link them to different community resources. Like if they don't have food, we would take them to the local food banks. We would give them like a list of different providers in the area based on whatever area that they live in, because a lot of them are local churches. Then we would assist them with making sure that they, stay, current with their medication, like making sure that they take it. So we monitor that type of behavior, to make sure that they continue with trying to stabilize their mental health. So it's like, because a lot of people don't have support. They don't have a good support system because they burnt the bridges because of whatever mental health illness that they had.
Well, mental health leads to substance abuse, and it's all stemmed from trauma. And if you don't, financially, if you're not in a position where you're getting that kind of support or be able to reach out to different support systems, or you don't have the family support because you have burned the bridges based on your behavior, you're bipolar in a manic phase, and you lose your shit, that family is not going to support you in your time of need. And then there's housing issues, and they can't stay consistent on their rent. They can't keep a job because if they don't have medication. This is one thing that was very challenging when I worked in the acute care psychiatric ward, was that an individual would get their meds right. They'd get situated. They'd be there 2 or 3 weeks. And then when they were done, like they'd go out and then they can't afford to get a bus pass to get to the pharmacy to get their prescription refilled. So this is what stands in the gap of that.
So, okay. So when you said children, I'm thinking young age, but these are young adults.
Well, we do children too. So the kids that have serious, we call it baby bipolar, which is called dysregulated mood. What is it?
Dysregulated mood disorder.
Yeah. So that, or oppositional defiant disorder, intermittent explosive disorder. So we have kids that have serious mental health issues that we go in the home and work with them as well. Right. So, and they work with the school, and they do IEPs, and they do all kinds of different things.
Yeah. And this is strictly for the military families or veteran families?
No, this is for civilians too.
So civilians too. Oh, wow. Okay. I misunderstood that, so I'm glad I asked that because I was thinking because you said families of veterans. So perfect.
So
I'm glad.
the military have their own. They're called military family and life counselors, and I have a couple of those that we're going to line up to interview as well. They definitely do it differently.
Yes, they do.
It's
Because the Fleet and Family Support Center is a little bit different. So it's like they have their individuals that they try to link them to that's within their organization. So anytime that they're booked, then they will refer them to us.
Mhm.
So, and that's how we will get in contact with them. So we usually will get in contact with them within 24 hours to see, to assess the situation, to see how we can go about, assisting them with, their stabilizing their family or with stabilizing the moods of their children. So yeah, it's a lot. Mm-hmm.
And we could talk way more about this, but for now, I just want to ask Sabrina, what motivates you other than me?
Food.
Food? What's your favorite food?
Everything. Except for sushi.
Olive Garden, the soup.
Yeah, the zuppa Toscana. That's my favorite.
That's
What's
why
your
on
favorite
my
soup
Facebook page,
Mhm.
she's always grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I love
Because people don't realize how much food plays a part in your mental health. So it's like if you're excited about what you're intaking in your body, then it's actually going to be endorphin and a serotonin release. Yeah.
Well,
It's
see,
fun.
that's interesting because I contribute my being overweight to food for all the things because we use food as if we're happy, if we're sad, if we're pissed off, if special engagements. In my family, we used food for everything.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's the healthiest food that we use to cope with that. And now, taking that, what I used to do, and now totally transitioning to food as fuel. And not just to use it as to abuse it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, we educate on nutrition too. Besides trying to link them with the nutritionists if they need one. So, but yeah, I do educate on how food makes the body work versus and how it makes you feel when you're eating it. I do. Yeah.
And Sabrina doesn't swear, so she'll say, "What in the ham sandwiches?" Like everything is associated with food.
Yes. What in the corned beef and hash? Mm-hmm. Yes, ham sandwich,
Ham
hot ham
sandwiches,
sandwich.
hot ham
Yeah.
sandwiches, yes.
But yeah, because it's a lot. People don't understand how easy it is to just regulate their mood by eating, changing their eating habits. So that's one thing that they can do besides making sure that they stabilize themselves by taking medication and medication management and then attending outpatient as necessary for an additional support system. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Love that. So what is something that people don't know about you? Tell us something people really don't know about you.
I don't know if there's nothing that people don't know about me.
She needs a driver.
Oh, a concierge. Yes, that would be nice. Let me see. I don't know.
She's willing to do anything.
I love
She's
that.
very much go with the flow person. It's like, hey, Sabrina, we got an appointment to jump out of airplanes at noon. She'd be like, all right, what time are we leaving?
I'm not going to budget jump now.
That's funny you said that because I was visualizing a parachute.
I know, right. Yeah, I am the go-to person. I don't mind getting into everything because I'm a jack of all trades, and that's what the CBs do. We have to learn how to step in at any different rating. So if we got to build, we're going to help you build. If we got to help you lay down pipe for plumbing, we're going to help you lay down pipe for plumbing. So that's what I do. I'm very flexible with assisting wherever the help is needed. So
she does that in her life now. She'll jump right in. It's like, what do you need? Do you need me to see this client? You need this, you need that, you need me to write this up. Like that.
Do you need me to bake you something?
Yes.
I bake you some cookies. Cookies is happiness. So
I agree 100%. It's crack.
Yes.
Yeah,
but-
she's feeling some kind of way about me not having flour, but I'm like, ma'am, I've been here 2 months. Like, give me a minute.
yeah, she doesn't have anything in here for me to encourage my baking skills.
I get that. I totally hear you. I wanted to cook for her. The woman took me out everywhere to eat, and I'm like, I'll cook for you. You know what? The day I left, she's when she cooked, and it was for when I was not there. So, you know, she could have had a home cooked meal, a canada, as how she says,
Canada,
a home cooked meal. But
We'll
she
get there.
chose.
You'll be back. I'm not worried.
Yeah, but I just enjoy helping out my fellow super friends. So anywhere that they need me to go, I'm that person. I'm going to show up for them, regardless of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I love
yeah,
that.
because I believe in supporting the good support network. So
We lost one of our super friends October of 22, and they rented. I mean, this is how amazing of a human being she was. Is they rented out an elementary school auditorium for her service.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was honored to do her eulogy, but yeah, I almost fell on my face walking up there. It was pretty funny.
this is because you have
It's because I have low feet. She's always picking on me about my low feet.
yes. I have a size 11, so I don't know what it was to be little feet until I was born. So
Me too. I'm a 10, 11. I get you.
Yeah, I wear 7.
And I laughed because you showed me your running shoes the very first, like the minute of the show. And I'm laughing because, so there's this thing about Coach purses and running shoes. And I love the fact that you showed me your running shoes because that's all I wear. Like, and Dr. J's
It's
trying to get me to
go-to,
something
yeah.
else.
it's go-to.
Well, she has to chase clients. Like, I don't have to do that, so I can wear any kind of shoe.
I'm always dressed to sporty
Yes.
because I never know what I'm going to get into. So it could be an outdoor session, it can be an indoor session. Getting kids be running around, I'm running too. So yeah, we equal opportunity. What we doing today? We playing basketball? Okay, bet. I got you.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because activity helps them associate with their the thought process, the creativity with it, because a lot of the times they don't want to feel stoic and like they feel like the parents are listening, and so they can't really get into doing what they want to talk about.
Right.
And so I take them outside, and then that's where we have some sessions sometimes. So
I love that.
always be ready.
Therapy everywhere. It doesn't matter where. You meet them where they're at.
Yep.
I love that. Sabrina, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. And I know we're going to have you back because unfortunately I have to cut this session short.
No worries.
But yeah, I'd love to have you back on. And there's just, it was just an absolute pleasure meeting you. And I can't wait to hear more about you. And perhaps maybe next time we'll all be in Florida together. Who knows? But yeah, I thank you again for your service. And
I just send her an email and she makes it happen. So it's pretty cool that Sabrina can just pop down here whenever she needs to. She's very mobile.
My clients are very forgiving.
Yes.
Forgiving clients are awesome. I love that. Love that. And thank you again for sharing your story. It's been an absolute pleasure to getting to know you. And don't forget, guys, same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.